And we're back with AP as we see it, and we want to continue our discussion with the non-conference game for each team in the SEC. That's the future of the SEC football programs relies on them with, being strong against those non-conference opponents. It helps in the evaluation by the College Football Playoff Selection Committee at the end of the year. Let's look at Missouri. They play Kansas. That's a long-standing rivalry. That is a vicious rivalry, matter of fact, is what I'm told. And that's September 6th. Kansas in a bowl team out of the Big 12. Then we have Oklahoma hosting Michigan. Those teams have played a time or two. That'll be September 6th. Michigan played in the bowl game, defeating Alabama. Michigan out of the Big 10, of course. Then we're looking at South Carolina. They play Virginia Tech. That game will be played on the 31st of August at Atlanta. Virginia Tech out of the ACC. And, of course, they have their longstanding rival, Clemson. That game's on the 29th. Clemson was in the college football playoff. So those are two significant games for South Carolina. Then we're looking at Tennessee. Tennessee plays Syracuse. They've met on the field before. That'll be at Atlanta on the 30th of August, the day before the Virginia Tech and South Carolina game. Syracuse out of the ACC. Syracuse, a bowl team, had a great season last year. Moving on. Our next team will be I believe it's Texas. Yes, Texas will host Ohio State, believe it or not. They lost to them in the Cotton Bowl in the college football playoff. So that huge game, the weekend of August 30th, Ohio State out of the Big Ten, the defending national champion. So that'll be fun for all the Texas fans to host the Buckeyes from Columbus, Ohio. We have Texas A&M on the 13th of September. They're at Notre Dame. Notre Dame was in the college football championship game. They're an independent. There's only a few independents out of the 134 FBS level teams. So Texas A&M will travel to South Bend. They've met a handful of times throughout the course of their programs. Then we have Vandy playing at Virginia Tech on the 6th of September. Virginia Tech out of the ACC bowl team. So there you have it, the 22 or so games that we selected that are non-conference that will help determine the future of the SEC. And we know that they're trying to get back to the college football playoffs, not with just 3 teams, but 4. I think that's the goal, to have 4 teams from the SEC play in the college football playoff tournament. Now, another thing I wanted to discuss during my travels, I was able to visit with Seth McLaughlin. You say Seth McLaughlin, that name's familiar to the SEC. He was a center at Alabama. He played double-digit games for Alabama, had some issues snapping the ball. So after they lost to Michigan in the Rose Bowl, he entered the transfer portal, immediately was off to Columbus, Ohio. And I think this is a really nice story. Seth McLaughlin became the 2024 Remington Trophy winner. That's for the best center in America. He made first-team All-American. That's right, first-team All-American for the Football Writers Association of America, the Walter Camp Football Foundation, and the American Football Coaches Association. He was second team, so that makes them a consensus, because we're going to list the 5 recognized All-American teams that lead you to the College Football Hall of Fame. He was second on the Associated Press team, and the Sporting News, he was the second team. So he's a consensus All-American, made 3 of the 5 recognized All-American teams. I think that was such a great story, and to visit with Seth. Although he was injured and couldn't play in the last handful of games, but he was there. He had his scooter during the interviews, and I was able to visit with him. And I want people to check out the interviews we did. It's on one of my YouTube channels at AP Stedham or at AP As We See It. But Seth, I was so happy for him, because that Rose Bowl game, he had difficulty with the snaps. But here he is. He went on to be the best center in America. And people can complain about the transfer portal and the NIL, but this is a fabulous story of a young man from Buford, Georgia, Seth McLaughlin. He did good things at Alabama and better things at Ohio State, becoming an all-time player for them, winning a national championship. So I was really thrilled to see him, and we had a chance to visit one-on-one at the College Football National Championship game in Atlanta on Media Day on Saturday. So check out that interview. And for those of you who follow Alabama football, you should be really happy for Seth because he went on to represent you very well in his transfer to Ohio State and win the national championship, becoming an All-American, winning the Remington Trophy. So we salute Seth and good luck to him in the future. I know he'll probably be drafted by an NFL team, and he's a good teammate, good leader. He's someone that you should be happy to have on your team. So these last few minutes of our show, we're going to discuss some basketball. But before we do that, we want to thank our sponsors, Greer's Markets, 29 locations, Alabama, Florida, Mississippi. And remember, they have the coloring contest for the children. They have Lucy's famous recipes. They have the groceries to go to deliver right to your home, your office, your venue, your parties, family, football, and friends. And as I said, we're discussing SEC basketball now. We're going to mention some things. So I'm sure you're going to have some parties for your favorite SEC basketball team as well. Then you have Robertsdale Dental Care, Dr. Jason Northcutt. He's very accomplished and can take care of all your dental needs. So you can contact him at 251-947-3636. We also have the 3 Wind Creek locations in Alabama, Atmore, Montgomery, Wetumpka. You can become a player. They have so many cool amenities, the spa, the movie theater, the cooking schools, and those are at the various locations, just depending on which one you visit. But it's Atmore, Wind Creek, and Atmore, Wind Creek, Montgomery, and Wind Creek, Wetumpka. So visit one of those 3 locations and have some fun. Then we want to thank the great host in Dallas, Texas, the Aloft Dallas Downtown, Alex Cruz and his staff. They were magnificent. They gave me a huge room. The accommodations were sensational. The breakfast, delicious. The location was outstanding. So visit the Aloft Dallas Downtown at www.aloftdallasdowntown.com. Phone number 214-761-0000. And you see Alex out there, Alex Cruz, you tell him that AP sent you. But I really enjoy staying at that property. It's a Marriott Boutique property located in the heart of Dallas, Texas, with a heated pool, the workout room 24 hours. They have the WXYZ bar, and just an excellent choice if you're going to stay in the Big D. But let's get to this SEC basketball. We all know that basketball is a tournament sport. So look at on the men's side, 9 teams in the Associated Press this week. Auburn at number 1, Alabama number 4, Florida number 5, Tennessee number 6, Kentucky number 9, Texas A&M number 13, Mississippi State 14, Ole Miss 16, Mizzou 22. So that's 9 teams in the Associated Press. There's 300 and I think it's 60 plus teams at that level playing basketball, and you have 9 out of the 16 teams, excuse me, in the Associated Press basketball men's poll. But we know that basketball is a tournament sport. So at a minimum, you'd like to see half those teams reach the Sweet 16. And another host of teams reach the Final 8, and minimum 1 team from the SEC has to be in the Final 4. You'd like to see 2, but that's going to determine the success of the SEC. There's no exceptions. You can have a tremendous season, win a lot of games, beat some non-conference opponents, but in basketball, if you're not successful in the tournament, when all the chips are in the center of the table, you're going to have a bad taste in your mouth because you're going to be watching that March Madness and your team is not there. So the SEC, 9 teams at this point. They're highly successful, maybe the best in the country for basketball. And who knew we would say that in 2024-25 that the SEC has the best men's basketball league. But that seems to be the case at the moment. But as I said, you must compete in that tournament and win ball games and reach the various levels, Sweet 16 minimum, I would say, for, let's say, half of those teams for the SEC to consider it being a successful season. Definitely 1 team in the Final 4. Probably should be 2. Probably should be 2 in the Final 4. Want to look at the And those the regular season can propel you to that postseason, of course, because you're going to get a good ranking. Just quickly on the women's side, you have South Carolina number 2, LSU number 5, Texas number 7, Kentucky number 11, Oklahoma 15, Tennessee 17, Alabama 19. So that's 7 teams on the women's side in the top 25 Associated Press poll. So we know the women's teams will be strong. They need at least one team, as I said, hopefully 2 in the Final Four, but they have to reach, half of them should reach the Sweet 16 to be considered a successful year. So that's another episode of AP as we see it, and we'll be back next week. Thank you for joining us, and look forward to further discussion about the SEC.